Hi guys, and welcome to another episode in my declutter series. Today we're gonna be doing highlighters, and I feel like I said in my last video, which was blushes, I can link down in the corner if you want to see it. I feel like I'm gonna have a pretty easy time letting go of a lot of these because, as you can tell, this one is completely full and I do not really want to expand into using another one of these to store my highlighters in, because who needs this many highlighters? Let's be real. I have one face, okay? I can only use so many highlighters, so I'm gonna try to be quite ruthless in this declutter and try to declutter a lot of these. Because I have my favorites and I know what I like, and so I'm gonna try to just keep the things that I know that I will use. So let me just take all of these out, put them on the table, and we can get started. So I can already tell, just taking things out of my box here, that I have some highlighters that I forgot about, and now I'm like, oh yeah, that's true, like I want to use that again. So that's exciting. Let's just start with this one. This one is from Jaclyn Hill, and I actually really like this. This is one of those that I was like, forgot I had this, I need to use it again. This is a loose highlighter in the shade, what shade are you? High Vault. So like I said in my blush declutter, I'm not going to be doing a ton of swatches in this one because I feel like, for myself, I don't care that much if I have dupes in my collection. I'm totally okay with this. I don't really care to see like what's similar to something else in my collection. I can swatch some of the ones that I love the most if you want to see them, but I'm not going to be using swatches as a way to determine whether or not I want to keep something. It's more going to be a feel thing. Like, do I think that I'm going to use this? Do I like this? Do I like this more than something else in my collection maybe? So I'm just going to kind of base it on my thoughts at the time, not so much on like comparison swatches. Here's one from Inside. This is the shade called Veil of Future. It's so hard to see. I think I'm going to keep this for another round. I like it. I forget to use it and I don't know why. I think it's beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it. I don't know if they still sell these. Maybe I should check that because they have come out with new highlighters now. So maybe I don't need to keep this. I do try to not keep too many things in my collection that are discontinued, even though I know as a normal consumer, like you guys watching, please don't ever feel like you need to declutter something because it's not available anymore. But as a YouTuber, it's nice to be able to use things that you can still buy, because I'd feel bad if I use something and then, you know, one of you end up loving it and you're like, where can I get this? And I tell you can't. So I think I'm just going to declutter this actually. I like it, but I just don't feel like I need to keep it in my collection since you can't really get it anymore. So I'm going to declutter this one as well. I don't feel like these are unique enough in my collection that I need to keep it like for a collector's item or something like that. I'm not someone who collects makeup. I don't have a emotional attachment to any of my makeup. I like them, but like I said, I have a pretty easy time letting go of things as well. So I think I'm finally gonna let go of this one. I kept it through my last declutter because I love the packaging and I spent a lot of money on this hoping I would love it, but I just don't. This is from Smashbox. It's the Hood Witch Crystallized Highlighter. I think this was a collab that they did, and as you can tell, I've used it quite a bit, but I never really loved it, so I held on to it thinking that maybe I would one day love it, but I just don't. Let's go through some of my Rephr ones here. I think this is a bronzer. This is the one that was done in collaboration with my friend Samantha March. I'm gonna keep it. Let's see, what is this one? This is a highlighter, also the collab that Samantha March did. I don't really use these very often because the colors aren't right for me. I feel like the bronzer is a little too pigmented, a little too warm, and I feel like it just looks a little bit like dirty on my skin. It just doesn't work for me color wise, and the highlighter is a little too icy for my liking, but I love Samantha and I still want to keep these in my collection because I do consider her to be a friend of mine. Let's see, this is the highlighter in the shade Peppermint. This was one of the limited edition ones that came out last year and I really like this. I think it is a beautiful color. So even though this one isn't available anymore, I'm gonna keep this one around because I really do like it and I can see myself using it. This one is the Rephr and Samantha Deepak highlighter in the shade Flash. I think this one I'm gonna let go of. I don't really use champagne highlighters that often, so even though I like this one and it does work for me color wise, it's not one that I see myself using that much. And I just realized I put all of these on the wrong side. which I've done in all of my declutter so far. I keep forgetting to put it on the right side, and then afterwards I have to make sure and go through the ones that I put in my declutters that I put them on the right side. Let's see, I think this one I'm gonna declutter. This is the Unearthly highlighter in the shade, does this have a shade? Bow and Arrow. This was from their sleepover collection, and I just don't love this color, and I haven't really used it, so it's just gonna go. This one is from Rephr as well. It's the highlighter in the shade Lotus Blossom. I haven't really used this a ton because, again, it's a little too icy for me, and I feel like a lot of Rephr's highlighters are just too icy and just a little bit too white based, and I don't love that on myself. I prefer highlighters that don't really leave a cast on my skin, something that you can't really see unless I turn my head, and I feel like these do leave a bit of a cast, so I'm gonna declutter this one as well. This one is probably my favorite Rephr highlighter of all time. This was also one of the limited edition ones from last year. This is the shade called Sugar Cookie. This one is so beautiful, and even though it is a bit of a champagne, it almost has a bit of like a peachy shift to it. It is so beautiful, and this one is a bit darker than some of their other ones as well, so I'm definitely going to keep that. I think it is a beautiful highlighter. This is the finishing powder in the shade Light. I use the finishing powder in the shade Dark as my bronzer. I don't really like this as a finishing powder. I think it is too glowy, so for me this one doesn't really serve a purpose, but it works really nice as a bronzer, but I'm gonna get rid of that one. I think it's also time to say goodbye to the Cruella highlighter from ColourPop. I liked this for quite some time. I like the Super Shock formula, but I just don't reach for it anymore, and it's also not available anymore, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that one. This is a single highlighter that I have from Lethal. No, this is, that's where my blush was. I was wondering where this was. I'm gonna keep it. It's a beautiful glowy orange blush, so I'm gonna put this in with my blushes. Okay, moving on. This is a Pixie Duo. I'm gonna keep this. This is the Subtle Sunrise Glowy Gossamer Duo. I like both of these shades. I think the formula is really nice. It's super nice and smooth. It looks good on the skin. These don't leave a cast at all, even though they are a little bit darker. Really like these. I've brought this one traveling quite a few times because I like both options in there. Let's see, this is probably a highlighter from Lethal, and I think I'm gonna declutter. I feel like I'm one of the very few people who don't really like the highlighters from Lethal. I don't know what it is. I feel like they're also a little too icy for me. I've tried a couple of their colors, and I feel like the colors just don't suit me that well. I don't know what it is. It could be a preference thing, but yeah, I just don't really love them. But I'm gonna keep the compact and probably put one of my single blushes in here and just get rid of the highlighter itself, but I'm gonna declutter the highlighter in here. This is one of my favorite highlighters in my collection, and it's from Half Magic. This is a shade called Light Trap. This is a beautiful, how would I explain this? It's a kind of peachy goldy highlighter. I don't think that you're really going to be able to see how beautiful this is, but it is absolutely stunning, and I like that it's not too light. Like, this looks great on my skin, and even though it looks a little bit darker on my hand, if you do just more of a sheer layer on it, which you're obviously not going to swatch it on your face like this, it just looks super nice and glowy and beautiful. So I'm 100% going to keep this one. I have a blush here from Laura Mercier that I think no, this is a highlighter, never mind. I think I'm going to declutter this. This is a very subtle highlighter, but it's also beautiful in its own way. It's kind of hard to explain. I don't usually go for subtle highlighters like this, but I've had days where this is what I wanted to wear, but I feel like I have other options that are kind of similar. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one because I do feel like I can find a home for this, someone that's going to use it more than I will. This one is tough. This is the Savannah highlighter from Sigma. I don't feel like I've used this enough to really have a strong opinion on it, so I'm gonna keep this for a little bit longer and just try to use it more because I forgot I had it, and I feel like I can say that for a lot of the highlighters here because I tend to only use my Blend Bunny Noctilucent palette, which is right here. Let's just get that out of the way. I'm gonna keep that. This is my favorite, and I can't seem to want to use any other highlighters right now, so that's what I'll be comparing everything else to. But I do feel like I need to have options that are just different formulas because I don't always want to use the kind of glittery, very sparkly, very colorful formula that is in there, but honestly most of the time I do. I think it's time for me to let go of this one. This is the Midas Cosmetics and Smoky Glow Highlighting Duo. I think this is very pretty. It's no longer available. Midas doesn't even exist as a brand anymore. They've now changed their name to Midas with a Y, I think. And I haven't bought anything from them since then, so I don't know. I'm just gonna get rid of this one. Let's see. Here's another one from Rephr. This is the bronzer. Oh, this is another one of the bronzer duos. This is the one that I've actually used, the one that was in collaboration with Samantha. You can tell I've used this quite a bit, but I think I'm gonna let go of this one and keep the one that is newer. I think that's gonna be my plan. Another highlighter from Lethal, I'm going to, okay, that one is empty already, so clearly I've already decluttered that one, which is fine. So I'm just gonna put that aside, and like I said, probably put it in a blush. I think I'm finally gonna declutter this one. This one is one of these Super Shocks from Colourpop. It's in the shade Pinch Me. I feel like I have so many highlighters that are sort of this similar peachy color that I really love, and I really like the one in the Noctilucent palette, so I don't think I need this one anymore, even though it's beautiful, but it's getting quite old, so I'm just gonna go ahead and let that one go. I'm also going to declutter all of these ones from Game Beauty. I just wasn't really impressed with this formula at all. I found that they kind of hard panned a little bit, and they just weren't everything I wanted them to be. They were a little bit of a drier formula, and it didn't look as shiny and smooth on the face that I hoped. And so I'm just gonna let them go because I have others that I like more. This is one from Melt, and this is one of their blush lights. I got this in a mystery box, so I'm going to declutter this one. I haven't even tried it, but it scares me because it's way too white based, and I feel like it's going to look like chalk on my face. So I'm going to let this one go. Another one that I have here from Melt, this one I think is from the Mariposa collection. Is it? No. It's from the Amor Eternal collection. That's what I meant to say. This is the shade called Illumination, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but here's what it looks like. It has a skull in it. Every declutter I do, I'm like, I don't really like this, but I'm going to keep it one more round and hope to use it. And I'm going to say the same this time because I want to give it another try and I keep forgetting, and I don't know if I'm going to end up using it until next time, but we're going to try again. This one I'm going to keep. This is from Sugar Drizzle. It's the Darlin Nikki's My Lighter. I think this is beautiful. I haven't used this nearly enough. This is a multi-chrome highlighter that is absolutely freaking stunning. Oh, I keep forgetting that I have it. I'm going to keep it. This is the Frosted Flakes highlighter from Ringlight, and I like this, but it's a little too big, a little too bulky for me to want to keep around. I think the idea behind it is cool. The packaging is cute. Like, I get it, but it's just a little too big and annoying, so I'm going to declutter it. This one from Catkin, let's see. I think this is more of a putty formula, and it's a little too, I like how it looks on the skin, but it doesn't really dry down. It's a little too creamy. I think it's pretty, but since it is more of that putty formula, I'm gonna declutter it because I just don't really find myself reaching for it. Here's something else from Lethal. I don't know what is in here. It's gonna be a surprise for all of us. Okay, so this is the red blush. I'm gonna keep this one as well because I like it. I haven't used it nearly enough. This is one of the luminous blushes. I like this formula more than I like the matte blushes from Lethal, so I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to this one. Got a highlighter here from ZZ, which is so freaking cute. This has a spinning cat in it. Like, look how when I open it, it kind of stops. I'm not sure if you can really see that. It doesn't want to spin anymore, depending on like how you flip it, and then it stops when you open it. It's so cute. It has a little cat on it that's like hiding his little eyes and paws. It's adorable. Do I use this? No, but I'm gonna keep it anyway because it has a cat on it and I love cats. This is the Nobble highlighter in the shade Privilege. When I first got this highlighter, I really didn't like it at all. I was like, this is way too subtle. It doesn't really show up on me. And I find that the more I use it, the better it gets. And I feel like you had to kind of get through like the top layer of this to be able to really get like a nice smooth application. And now that I have, I really like it. It's definitely more of a subtle highlighter, and I like it for days where maybe I just don't know at all what to wear, or maybe let's say on a day where I don't want to do any eye makeup, I just want to do a very, very subtle, just like base makeup, a little bit of brows mascara. I like this kind of highlighter for that because I feel like if I use like the Noctilucent palette, it's a little too much. Like it's a little too glittery and too out there, it doesn't, like the face doesn't balance. I feel like I need to have like stronger eyes in order to pull off like a really intense highlighter. So I like more of a subtle highlighter for days where I'm not going to be doing much makeup, which to be honest, it's not very often, but sometimes if I'm like traveling or something, or I have to be somewhere early in the morning, I'm still gonna do a little bit of makeup. This does serve a purpose, and I do think it is beautiful. This is the, should I do the singles before we go into the palettes? Let's do that. Let's go through the Wounds Eye ones, even though I don't really feel like I need to, because I think I'm gonna keep all of them, even though I don't use all of them. I think it's the shade, there's one that I'm not the biggest fan of, that's just a little too subtle for me, and I can't think of which one it is right now, but I think they're all really pretty, so I am going to keep all of them. Let's see. The only thing I don't love about these is that I wish you could kind of see through the lid so I knew what was in it instead of having to flip it around. I think it is this one that's a little too subtle for my liking. So if I were to declutter one, it would probably be this one, which is the shade called Warm Sunshine. But all of the other ones are just so beautiful, and I almost keep forgetting to use them, which is very sad because my Noctilucent palette is always right in front of me, and I can't have 6 of these right in front of me because they do take up quite a bit of space. But like I said, I do really like the formula of these, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep them. I guess let's go into palettes. I thought I had more singles, but I guess I don't. I think it's finally time for me to let go of my Dior Backstage palette. I've had this for such a long time. This used to be a favorite of mine. I used it all the time. I still think it's really pretty, but I never used it anymore. And so I'm just gonna give it away because it's still good quality, and I know that someone else is gonna be very happy about that. Here's a face palette that I got from Lethal. This was one of their kind of pre-made palettes, and I think what I'm gonna do is, because I don't really like the bronzer, I don't really like the highlighter, I'm gonna depot this and sort of make my own little trio. And I forgot I had this palette, so that's a good thing. I love that these are magnetic and I can kind of move them around, so I think I'm gonna make my own little Lethal palette, and that way I'm probably gonna use them a little bit more. I do like this blush color though. I think that is very pretty. Just in general, Lethal's highlighters, like I said before, just aren't really my favorite, so I probably will not be keeping the highlighter, but the rest of it I really like. Here's a palette from Juno & Co, and I think that they have stopped doing makeup, so I think even though this is a beautiful palette, this is called the Lepapillon, I probably way mispronounced that. It's a beautiful palette, and it works really well for me. I don't really use, I've said this before, I don't really use palettes that have everything in it. Like if it has a blush highlighter and a bronzer, there's a way smaller chance of me reaching for it over something that's just a highlighting palette or just a blush palette or just a bronzer palette or whatever it is. Like, because then I know, I kind of remember what's in it. But with this, I don't really remember all the shades that are in like the I don't really like all-inclusive palettes. I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. This is my Wounds Eye highlighting palettes, and I'm torn on whether or not I want to keep these because even though I like them, I don't like all of the colors in these. The only color that I really use in this one is the Salamander shade, which I love. I think it is beautiful. But these other ones, I find that this one leaves a bit of a cast on me, which is the blue one. I feel like it's not iridescent enough and it has too much color to it. I think the formula is really nice. This one is just kind of not really a color that I use, and this one's a little too light for me. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. And I think it's time for me to declutter this one as well because they're also not available anymore. So I think I'm just gonna let them go because I don't use them enough. And even though I really like this one, I think it's beautiful, it's not gonna get enough use, and I just know that. So I'm gonna finally start letting some things from Wounds Eye go, which is tough for me to do because I love them as a brand and I have everything that they've ever come out with until this very moment. This one is from Rephr, and it is the Midi Face Palette. This is the medium shade, I think. And even though I have so many products from Rephr that I love, I don't reach for these shades in particular. I used them for quite some time, but then they came out with the finishing powders, and I've been using the dark one as my bronzer, so I don't really need these. And this highlighter in the middle here is too light for me, too icy. It's the shade Star Island. I don't love that shade for myself personally, so I'm gonna let that one go. The Oracle palette from Bella Beauty Bar, I'm gonna keep this one. I don't love this as much as some other people do. I find out a couple of these have hard pan on me already. These two have hard pan. And I like the palette. This one's a little too dark for myself. I feel like it doesn't look that great on my skin. And since I have the Noctilucent palette, I feel like I already had these 3 shades. And so since these have hard pan and these 3 I like more in the Noctilucent palette, I'm not going to be using this very often, but I think I am going to hold on to it still just because I do like it. and I don't feel like it's time for me to let go of it quite yet. And I'm just realizing now that I have all of my Kaleidos highlighters in a different drawer. So I'm just gonna pull these out and we can talk about these real fast, because I don't think I'm going to, actually maybe I will start decluttering some of these because I don't really use them. So wow, I didn't think that this would actually happen. I'm shocked because I'm looking at these now and I'm like, I haven't used so many of these in forever since I got my Noctilucent palette, because I feel like a lot of these are very similar. I'm definitely going to keep both of these though. These are the multi-chrome highlighters. I love these, and I already have pan in this one, which is the Prophecy one, and I'm probably close to hitting pan in the Gifted highlighter as well. Maybe not as close, but I'm for sure going to keep both of these. This is a bit of a shock to me, honestly, because I did not think that I'd be decluttering these. I'm going to be decluttering the Ray Rider because it's not a color that I use very often. I'm also going to declutter Skywalker because I have the Noctilucent palette, which has a blue iridescent shade in it. This is the one I'm going to keep. This is Mars Melter. I don't feel like I have anything that's similar to this really in other palettes or singles. So this is the reformulated one, or the newer one. This is the older one, which is more of an iridescent red shade, which I have a lot of these kind of colors in single eyeshadows, especially Red Giant from Terra Moon. Much better than this one, honestly, as a highlighter. So gonna go ahead and keep this one, which is the new Mars Melter. I'm gonna declutter Star Surfer. I don't remember last time I used this. I have no feelings about that whatsoever. This is the other Moon Cruiser, which is the updated version, I think. No, that's Moon Cruiser and that was Skywalker. What is the difference? Is there a difference? I'm so confused right now. I thought these were the same. Shows how much I have used them. I can't even open them. They look pretty much exactly the same to me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna declutter both of them. Diamond Dasher, I think I'm gonna keep this one because this is more of a wearable. Listen, I hate that term, but it's just a good way to explain things. So it's more of a subtle highlighter. I think it's a pretty color. So since I don't have a lot of colors in this color, wow, English, I'm gonna keep it. So that one's gonna go in there. Solar Sailor, I have the one in the Noctilucent palette, which I like more, so I'm gonna get rid of this one as well. Comet Catcher, I'm also gonna get rid of. Same thing, Noctilucent palette is just the winner. So that was actually easy. So now I'm just gonna put these in with my other highlighters on the side and free up a drawer for myself. Let's go through some of these. These are from Bitter Lace Beauty. These are my single highlighters from them, and I love these. These were what I used before I got the Noctilucent palette. And I just feel so bad because I love these. They don't smell as good anymore, but they still have that very, very sweet smell to them. This one I really like. It's beautiful. The formula on these are just spectacular. I am going to keep these around still. These ones are from the Candy Coated collection, I want to say, and these are beautiful as eyeshadows, which I just forget about, but I'm going to keep them because they are stunning, and I feel bad that I don't use them as much as I should, but I'm definitely going to keep them because I think they are amazing. The highlighting palette from Sugar Drizzle, I feel like this one is very different, honestly, to both the Noctilucent palette and the Oracle palette from Bella Beauty Bar, because these are all duochromes, and the other palettes, even though the Bella Beauty Bar has 2 multi-chromes in them, I feel like these are duochromes, and they add something a little bit extra special to my collection, so I'm for sure going to keep this palette. I really, really like it. The only thing is that I feel like since they are duochromes, they can be a little tricky to figure out like which shade it is that you want to use, because it's gonna look different on your face depending on like the angle in which the light hits you and stuff like that. So it's not as easy to use because you don't always know what you're gonna get, but it is beautiful. Makes a really nice like brow one highlight or in a corner shade too. I don't love it as much as eyeshadows because I feel like these are a little bit creamier than eyeshadows. This is more of a like a Super Shock type of formula, whereas the other palettes is more of a powder, even though they have different formulas in them. I really, really do like this, so I'm definitely going to keep it. This is from Shall We Makeup, and I bought this because I thought I could compare it to the Noctilucent palette, hoping it would kind of be the same. 2 of these shades are complete duds for me, which are these 2, so it's the yellow one and the pink one. The other ones are really nice, but since it has 2 dots in it, and I have my Noctilucent palette that has all of these ones in it, I don't need to keep this. The only shade I would maybe keep it for is this one, because it's a kind of sheer, more silvery tone that I don't really feel like I have anywhere else. But again, I don't really need this, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of it, even if I haven't had it for very long. I don't see myself really really using it that much. So I'm just gonna give that to a better home. This is the Scooby-Doo highlighting palette from Ringlight, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep this for a little bit longer. I think these are beautiful, beautiful highlighters. I just wish that the pans were smaller, or that maybe they made it a 4-pan instead, because this to me feels like a bit of a waste. Like, who's gonna go through this much of a iridescent purpley, greeny, yellowy, duochrome highlighters? Like, I don't know. I love the idea. I just wish it was a 4-pan instead. I feel like that would have been better value for your money. But I'm going to keep it because I do think it's nice and it's quite new to my collection, and I don't feel like I have played with it enough. So did I do good this declutter? I don't know. I don't feel like I decluttered that much, but that wasn't my intention going into this. I just wanted to free up a little bit of space in my, I would say drawer, but whatever that thing is called that I put my highlighters in, but I still feel like I decluttered enough that actually I feel like I did quite well. Now that I'm putting it all in front of me and seeing it all in one place, that's quite a lot of highlighters. So I think I'm okay with where this ended up. I'm not really going to count these because, like I said in my blush video, I think I'm not really a numbers person. I don't care that much about the actual numbers. Like, that to me is pointless because, like, who cares? I just want to make progress. You know, I just want to see that I got rid of some stuff, and I see that right now because now I have room for everything in my little container here, which makes me happy, and I got rid of the things that I just don't really love. So that's going to be it for this declutter. I think my next one is probably going to be lip products, which is going to be a long one because I have a lot. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see some more declutters, I do have a declutter playlist. I will put that right there. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.